Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving I'll be a living sanctuary for you. A lot of y'all don't know this. Years back, I was traveling with the group to go meet with the Idaho representatives for getting a hemp initiative up and going. The individuals that I was with, kind of tried to sink the boat, and I ended up getting arrested. They left me after I, was able to get some family together to bail the money for what we needed. They left me in jail for Thanksgiving, and then ultimately tried to pin the entire event on me. Needless to say, I'm probably still wanted in Idaho because of my Thanksgiving. But the reason why it was so important for me to address why did I start the Kickstarter today is this is my favorite song. Growing up in the South, everybody's a Christian. Everybody's got their hypocritical face that they put on. But when the music begins, all of the other stuff of everybody's issues and problems and everything disappears, because that's what it's about. It's about the praise and worship. So I wanted to sing you guys a happy Thanksgiving song, give you a little bit of a testimony, and let you know my skin in the game with what I've gone through. This is difficult to bring up, but if I don't let you know why, then you don't think what you need to about this. The stuff in Alabama that's going on with the legal changes and such, 10 years ago, I was dealing with all of this on another level, and I had, an accident, and I dealt with law enforcement that I had contacted. When I say this, some of you don't know this story, so I'll tell you is, I was still a little bit younger. I just found out about cannabis being in the Bible, and really felt like it was my mission and calling to heal people. So, I kept reading in the scriptures about boldness, Joshua chapter 1, be strong and be courageous. Courage is knowing what you're up against and still acting in the face of adversity. So I called my local Anniston PD in Calhoun County in Northeast Alabama. I said, hey man, I'd like to get all of the marijuana, because this is how long ago it was to me. I didn't understand marijuana was racial profiling. It was an ignorance term used for all of the above, where they've equivocated 3 different plants to be one possibility with an alcohol extraction that's all been taken as an unconstitutional thing since 1937. Marijuana was proven unconstitutional because it causes self-incrimination, because it's a doubtful statement of ignorance, because you don't know what's in it. So why am I saying that? Because I'm contacting the Anniston PD. Hey, can I talk to the chief? Yeah, sure. What's this about? Oh, I'm Reverend JC, and I wanted to reach out and tell him some of the stuff I'm doing in ministry in this area, and wanted to talk to him. Okay, so I get on the phone with him and I say, hey, look, I'm from California. I'm an active minister. I would love to get some of this seized medicine that you guys have and turn it, into actual medicine for patients who need it. Cancer, we have the highest at the time. Hobson City in Calhoun County had the highest AIDS HIV rates for all of Alabama. And I said, hey, there's an epidemic going on. I'd really like to address this. He said, who are you again? Because I'm asking him for, something that I guess you're not supposed to be. It's taboo. Kind of put a bullseye on my back with Anniston PD. Love them and respect them to this day. They've gone through several chief changes since then. But he tells me, he said, no, look, I'm not in charge of that. You need to contact the Drug Task Force. Drug Task Force, yeah, those are the ones that do the raids, and they're the ones that have the, the marijuana you're looking for. So I contact the Drug Task Force because he gives me the number for it. And the gentleman I speak to is named Chris. And we go through with the officer, same spiel. I'm from California. I'm out here as a minister. This is what I use as a sacrament. I'd like to get the contraband that you have and take care of it in a way to where that I can actually benefit the population and the people. Well, Chris and I have a nice talk about how Marinol, and then one day it might be legal and all of this stuff, and he appreciates me, being forward about what I'm talking about, and then he says, ultimately, I'm not in charge of that. That's the district attorney. So you need to talk to them. Now, I live in a small town at this time. I graduated from this small town, and one of the interesting things about that is you kind of know everybody. So when I call in, the secretary who's working happens to be one of the moms of one of my classmates from high school who had helped me years prior get a scholarship. I had several, I wouldn't say 9 different scholarships when I graduated high school. One of them was the Hoffman Scholarship. And the lady who was working the front desk or for the district attorney was one of those people who's on the review board. And I said, look, this is what I got going on. I'd like to speak with him. I know he's a busy man. What's the best way to approach this? And she said, honestly, he gets here early every day. So if you come in tomorrow at 7, he'll be here at 7:30. His day starts at 8. He might have a couple minutes to talk with you. I said, great. So I'm sitting in the district attorney's office before he gets there with a folder that's, about 5 inches thick of the legal documents. And, I'm showing him that this is a sincere practice, that this is, going on for thousands of years. Here's all the case law on it, yada, yada, trying to set a precedent to be able to do this. He looks at me, we have this discussion, go through the discourse and everything else. And he basically tells me, look, I can't give you what you're asking for because all the contraband is burned. Now, he goes through adamantly trying to figure out who I am because he wants to find my address because now he wants to raid my house. So, I said, it's in our best interest not to do that, but I did want you to know who I was and what I was doing. So after, months have passed and I've kind of put this bullseye on my back in this small town, I'm known as the weed reverend, the Principal, and all this other, crazy, Castaneda's the crazy cannabis guy and all of that stuff. I had a car accident, and Anniston PD, God bless their heart, a lot of listening to orders and such. So supposedly 2 grams of cannabis was in my glove box. Now, there's photos of this accident that I have where basically what happened was I hit a telephone pole on the passenger side of the car, or a light pole, and it had smashed my glove box into the seat. So I asked, after they, put me in the process and everything, I asked my attorney, is like, how is this, the record that he's sharing is that, he was trying to find my insurance out of my glove box, and he found cannabis in my car, in the glove box. And he looks at me and he goes, that's a good question. I'm going to go ahead and ask him that. So prior to the official discovery, he goes into the private chambers and small town stuff, and he tells the prosecutor, hey, man, you guys got no claim because the attorney of record, or the cop on record is basically saying that he's trying to find this cannabis in this guy's car, but they didn't touch the glove box because the glove box was mashed into the passenger seat. So he's lying on record. And they ultimately changed their stance, and they said it was in plain sight. So I ended up on probation for 2 years in Alabama, which kept me from, coming back to California and ultimately getting back to the ministry. So when I came to California, I was on fire to figure out how to fix these problems. And I dealt with relationships where, you know, somebody who was with me in the faith decided to depart from it. And ultimately I had to ask the Creator for the divine guidance on what I needed to do. How do I approach this? So when I came back to California, I didn't have a place to stay. I was living out of my car. And I'm being real with you, is I worked background in the entertainment world. I was doing acting. I was able to get enough food and enough finances to get a mailbox and to get things in order. Was very blessed to be able to stay on some couches of some amazing artists that, really helped me as far as when I needed it most. One of those artists was Tone Rodriguez, and if you don't know who he is, you should, because he's John Carpenter's favorite artist. He's the same guy who does The Simpsons' favorite artist. He's an amazing guy, and he looked out for me like a little brother. And I was able to pay it forward with this project to get him to do some cover art. He did the Jesus with the scythe, harvesting the cannabis thing and the warning poster, and he also did the puppets for the DVD cover that I'm showing on this Kickstarter campaign. So there's like this full loop, overwhelming thankfulness of coming to California, people taking care of me, and I'm on this journey to like ultimately figure out how to fix this problem. Now, everybody's telling me you gotta, do the medical. So, well, why aren't we doing the medical? Why aren't we doing clinical trials with the federal government? Why aren't we getting grants? Why aren't we doing all this stuff? Well, there's no protocol yet. They don't have one. They've dodged the thing. At the time, the Attorney General for California was Kamala Harris. She was really dragging her feet. They'd already passed the Department of Health medical ID card program, which is supposed to be to protect like AIDS, HIV patients, cancer patients from disclosing their actual medical condition. And now they need to come up with the non-diversion safe access plan. So what ends up happening is she takes so long doing that, it's literally on the fine tuning of her re-election campaign now, that, oh yeah, I wrote the but dragged your feet the whole time to get it going. So while I'm sitting here in California, I'm going, well, how do we fix this federally? Because it's got to be in my state, got to be in Alabama, got to be in, I got to be able to get back there. And well, we need to get the protocol written. So I'm gonna be honest with you, everything in my life is a product of prayer, fasting, and one of the things that I'm so thankful for about that rewarding relationship that I have with the Creator is, if I don't know something, I admit I don't know something, I hit my knees and I ask, provide me the words, the wisdom, and the ability to walk through your sovereign steps. This is my daily prayer. Provide me the words, the wisdom, and the ability to walk through your sovereign steps. And I don't know what everybody else does. I can't attest to them, but when I ask for things, I get the answers, not in the ways that I anticipated or knew exactly. It's like, it says in the scriptures that the Spirit speaks in groanings too deep to understand. It's like a translator for my desire, because my heart's desire is I want to fix this for everybody. But in order to do that, I have to basically write the federal protocol for cannabis. And I'm doing all the research, finding out what we need. So I pull up all the international jurisdiction, all the international stuff, and I find out that basically, if we have land and it's under a religious land use and it's designated like the Vatican owning land that has burial rights to it, or the Quakers who have land and they designate an apostolic treasury on it, or the sovereign nations that are here, like in New York where the United Nations is founded, actually in the building, that whole area is a sovereign territory. Or Washington DC, that's a sovereign territory. That's not the United States. If you look at the Indian reservations, or excuse my language, the Native American reservations, those are all sovereign territories that are federally recognized. And one of the things that I researched was like, these rebel guys, I was watching the Liberty Bell smokeout session, and they had gotten arrested, and they had to drop the charges because the Religious Freedom Restoration Act applies to federal land or federally recognized land. So ultimately, I'm seeing there's like this huge religious need for a land rights claim, but there's a gap for the medical. So I asked for the insight and the ability to write the protocol. I reached out to my fellow ministers, my fellow attorneys, whoever could give me counsel on how to do this. And basically, over the course of 3 days, divinely was given the advanced caregiver protocol and it's over 68 pages, the different forms that are needed, the different processes. You've got the non-disclosure agreement, you've got the voluntary questionnaire for taking in the medical history, organizing their medical records. Then you have to authorize the release of verification for medical records. And then you also have to do previous history and sign off on any of their existing conditions. There's basically a protocol to doing clinical trials. So I write this for the same individuals that dragged my butt up to Idaho that wanted to show it off and be like, hey, we can do this for Idaho. But the thing about Idaho is, just like Alabama, is there's a lot of racial tension. There's a lot of animosity towards anybody who's not of a lesser pigment color. And one of the things that happened while I was up there was there was a bit of a takeover of the work that I had done, and it was put into a compromising situation to where that it was literally divulged to me that the individuals that I was with had criminal intent and ultimately, wanted to see my demise and death early so that they could acquisition my life's work so far and continue on with it. So I went on a sabbatical from Alabama to figure out how to do this stuff. I was given, paperwork from my bishop back there. My counsel from him was to say, hey, get out of Idaho. Don't ever go back. That's been pretty good counsel, because I probably would still be in jail up there if that was the case and wouldn't be able to provide you guys this movie. But it's also horrible because, again, Joshua chapter 1, you're going into being strong and being courageous. You stand up for what you're supposed to, but you also have to look at it for the timing. Cannabis is a religious sacrament. It's a religious artifact. And it's sickening to me that there's people in jail for it at all, because it's literally the tree of life that we're supposed to be eating the seeds. I know everybody's smoking and they want to get high and all like that. And the scriptures address that. There's a system of holiness to do that, orthodoxy to do that. Look at Isaiah chapter 6, where he gets that holy kiss from the hash coal that's on the altar. Or look at, Ezekiel chapter 8, where they're taking the incense censers and using it for sacrilege to worship God on Sundays and, go and worship the sun kind of thing. And that was totally taboo and against, using the incense for the divinatory rites. But yes, it's in the scriptures, in other words. Yes, it's part of this. Yes, it's medical. Obviously, we got to have both. Most preachers, reverends, theologians that I respect recognize medical cannabis. They do. It has medical proponents. It has all like that. The obstinance that I face is directly related to it being the chrism oil, the oil of gladness, the reference to holy, the reference to Christ, are all using cannabis spiritually. So I decided I'm doing a movie. And that movie is the Kaneh movie series. But in order for me to get to teaching you guys about the phytoremediation and teaching you about how the medical proponents work, I've got to teach first and foremost on the land rights claim so that you guys don't go to jail for trying this. Remember, I've been arrested several times for the ministry of the gospel for Christ. And I'm still wanted because I wanted to tell you guys the truth and do the things that I wanted to do in a fallen world. So there's a very big reason why I need to do this. It's for the next generation. It's for my kids. It's for your kids. It's so that they don't grow up with this ignorance in their life. Because the omega-3 and 6 proteins that comes from hemp seed are the only thing that replenish your brain. So the problem with the lack of IQ or the lack of ability in most people is they're deprived of the omegas that they need in order to function. I believe majority of these mental illnesses are a cannabinoid, it's like, it's not just the medicine, it's the covenant that we're supposed to do with God. It says in Genesis chapter 1, twice, you will eat the herbs yielding seed, and the seeds will be for your meat. What is it talking about right there? He's talking about eating the seeds of cannabis. Now, everybody's like, well, what about this? What about that? Well, the Hebrew, because there's no vowels in there, the consonants, and the way that the structure is, there's two separate words there. They obviously are talking about known edible herbs. Gruel goes back through the Middle Ages and 1800s and all like that. That was what we would do. We would grind up hemp seed and eat it like porridge. So today, Thanksgiving, I'm going to sing one more time that lyrics, but in California, it doesn't rain. Today, it's raining. I used to sleep in my car, and the few times I would write screenplays, I would, work through my, whatever it is. But when it would rain was always my favorite days, because it doesn't rain much here in Southern California. But the sound reminded me of home. The sound reminded me of providence, that no matter where I go, God was going to take care of me. I love the dripping sound of the rain on the car roof. It's just... And today was the day that I let you guys have access to the project Rapture at 420 for the Kaneh movie series. And it's on Kickstarter. I'm doing a bunch of stuff on there. It's set up because I have to do this public service announcement campaign with these movies to get people educated, because I can't fix the problem until you know the solution. I need you guys. Lord bless them and help them. I need you guys to know my heart. I got skin in the game. This is the highest stakes for me. Like right now, my own family has expectations on me to do this movie and make millions of dollars. You know what? If one of you guys finds the truth from this movie was a success. It truly is. If one of you, just one, finds the truth that I hold so dear and sacred, and respects the Creator as the provider that's given you everything you need with cannabis, given you everything you need to heal these problems. Jesus was healing epilepsy of the children that couldn't be cured by any of the other folks. He's saying use, fasting, which was saying, hey, use the anointing. You're supposed to be putting it on every day. He's saying use the incense. That's the hash. That's the infusion from the olive oil, from the anointing oil, put onto. And yet, Christianity today wants to put everything in this realm or that realm, when you have surrendered Christ to be an idol instead of a personal relationship, a daily relationship. You're supposed to be growing cannabis. Your body is a garden-keeping facility. You have urine that tells this plant what it's supposed to do for your body. It processes your blood. It takes it through the urine. Think about this. If you had the right diet and you were taking care of your vegetables, they would be getting the sustenance of the fertilizer from your body. You are a living temple. The problem that you have is, like, everybody's trying to put this stigma on it because they went after females. And let me break this last part down, because this is so silly. It's so silly. It used to be the Queen of Heaven was, Asherah or whatever. That was the wife to Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament, which when we would say like this or that. That was the bronze serpent that was lifted up that Hezekiah, ultimately says he tore down. The bronze serpent was just a serpent. That was a communal hash smoking device that you would put the coals in, and smoke would come down, and it was what they were using to cure syphilis and all the other shit that was going. Excuse my language, but it's so bad right now because of the church attacking females. The early church, the Gnostic church, all of it would not have survived if it hadn't been for the women. Mary Magdalene, the other Mary, anointing Jesus, hello. Think about it. John the Baptist anointing Jesus Christ, meaning anointed one. It's so simple. But they go after the divine female, which is cannabis, the virgin. Think about it, since Amelia's virgin. We need this plant in order to teach the principles of the divine female. So keep in mind, alcohol and its production, manufacturing, whatever you want to call it, was a matriarchal art form. We have patron saints in the Catholic Church that are females who are the ones that came up with using hops to preserve beer. Alcohol is a matriarchal art form. It goes back 5,000 plus years. And ultimately the church, when it couldn't isolate and dominate over the females who were making better beer than they were, because it's down to the craft, you know, that whole scenario of going after the divine female is going after cannabis has been going on for millennial. So I want you to reevaluate this film. It means watch it, pause it, go back to it, watch it again, and be able to have some sense of respect for the fact that all of this is due to the divine female. She's the one that taught the creator. If you want to be technical. Oh, don't say that. Don't say it. Well, they're symbiotic. You couldn't have the creator without the created, right? It's like a loop. So when we look at creation, yes, God is a proverbial predestined, full plan. But the fact that they go after Gnosticism and say that, the wisdom and the serpent and all this stuff is bad, you got to see what that stuff was. It was taking and commandeering the male mind, the creative mind, the creator's mind in the modern telling of the Old Testament is a patriarchal God. The original had male and female. They were both equal. And the problem is women tend to be smarter than men. And men were afraid that their women, with the gossip, there wasn't no email back then, but there was a prayer chain that would get you caught up in whatever was going on real quick. And the women still run stuff to where that nobility, the mitochondrial DNA, is only passed down from the female side. So when they check nobility, they focus on the matriarchal side. I'm letting y'all know the truth with this movie in a way to where that you can respect, it is what it is. I'm sure somewhere, somehow I'm sinning. I'm sure there's a missing of the mark, but I ultimately am surrendering all of my faults, my woes, my lackings, just like I asked for daily the Creator to provide the words of the wisdom and the ability. I'm made of dirt just like the rest of y'all. Seriously, if you think you're better than someone, check it right now. It's not going to make your day any better. It's not. Matter of fact, pride comes before the fall. I am letting you know I'm not perfect. But with the Creator's help, you will see perfection in the reflection, not me. So, my words, my wisdom is not my own. Anything good that you see belongs to the Creator. All glory belongs to Him. Anything else, I'll take credit for. I'll take the dirt. That's what I'm made of. I'm used to people blaming me for doing good works. It's not me, though, okay? I had to hit my knees. I had to ask. This is impossible, according to my film teachers, according to all those people I went to school with that said, you can't make a movie on your own. Well, here's the fact. I had to use puppets, I had to use this stuff, but I need more people to step up because here's why. I had to show a proof of concept to you that this is possible, that this is a miracle. I need you to think about this. It's supposed to be hundreds of folks doing a movie. I'm one dude. I hired another cameraman who happened to be my driver when I was going through some stuff and I needed some help to get all the way up to Canada to do what we had to do. I paid for interviews. Other than that, there is nobody else doing this movie. It looks like there's a whole bunch of people in the credits because that's all people I want to give credit to who helped who helped my heart when I needed it. This film is a project that's taken 10 years of research and study. Nobody else but me could have done this because it's down to the truth. And from what I'm seeing, there's a lot of echoes going on of somebody else before, but nobody's calling it out for what it really is. Nobody's saying the things that I'm saying, the way that I'm saying it. And it was impossible, according to everybody I went to school with, to be able to do this. You're not supposed to be able to do this. Okay? Here's the other part of that. God took all my weaknesses, because I have a bit of agoraphobia in the sense I get afraid of crowds. I am afraid of y'all. One-on-one, I'm all good. I used to be a youth minister. I could do small groups thing. But as a group, getting on stage, oh, heck no. That is not my game. You want to know why? Because in my heart, I know who all of you guys are and what you're capable of, what your perception of. It only takes one of you to offset the whole balance of creation. So that's why I love worship music, but ultimately that's why I have a sense of empathy and an awe respect for your abilities to also cause some havoc in my life. So I want some blessings to be upon you, and I want abundance upon you, and I'm making that very clear that nothing good that's happening from this is coming from me. It's coming from the reflection of the I Am. And the blessing of the Creator, the Tetragrammaton, the Hebrew, what I call the Creator is Jehovah Tizdakanu, our righteousness, the agricultural, the Melchizedek, the priest of peace and justice and righteousness. And ultimately, I can't do this stuff alone. Can't, but I had to. In order for y'all to know, some dude from Alabama was able to go and do what all of Hollywood says you need all of this to do. In order for you to know it was not me, this is not my skill set on my own without the Creator, without me hitting my knees and asking, okay, well, how do I edit? Okay, well, how do I write? Okay, well, how do I do this? Okay, well, how do I produce? All of those steps are humility tests that I had to pass and ask for the ability to do. I can't do this stuff on my own. Y'all silly to think that, oh, well, he's good at this. No, I give all credit, all praise, all honor to the Creator who allowed me the honor to share with you my weaknesses, that he turned my weakness of not being able to go and talk to people to use puppets to help you see this. Now, when I sing this song, I'm out after this. So I love you guys, but I wanted you to know what's really going on, how this really plays out. Who knows if you'll see this, but the one of you who do, may your life be improved by it. Kaneh movie Rapture at 420 is on Kickstarter. It'll be there until I think January 26th. We're gonna try and raise as much as we can to get some more voices on, but ultimately all praise, all honor, all glory belongs to the Creator. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary. Thank you, Lord. Pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for